Good afternoon and welcome to this afternoon's Member Spotlight, brought to you by Brentwood Chamber of Commerce. My name's Colin Barber. I'm the Chairman of Brentwood Chamber of Commerce, and it's my pleasure to host this afternoon's webinar. Our guest this afternoon is Matt Barry from Blue Serif, and we'll be hearing from him very shortly. In the meantime, I'd like to welcome all of you and thank you very much for joining us today, and hope you enjoy the webinar. And just to flag up, it will be recorded and available to view on YouTube later on today as well, or tomorrow morning. So if you don't get a chance to catch it all or want to watch it again, then do feel free to join us and watch it on YouTube. The first webinar was 2 weeks ago with Michelle from Snap, and the background behind the webinars was that we used to hold, until very recently, we were holding a Meet the Members event where each member of a Chamber of Commerce was able to host other members of a Chamber of Commerce and show them around their business and tell them a little bit about their business. Obviously, for the moment, we've had to put that on hold. So the idea came up to perhaps do a sort of virtual Meet the Members, and the name came up with the Member Spotlight. So every week, every fortnight, we'll be meeting a member and finding a little bit about their business and what it is that drives their business, and hopefully learning a little bit about what they do well and what makes their business successful. And as I say, hopefully we'll be hearing a little bit more about that from Matt very, very shortly. In actual fact, a very good introduction to Matt came 2 weeks ago from Michelle of Snap, who, when she heard that Matt was going to be the guest today, she sung his praises and said what a wonderful job Blue Serif had done in redesigning the Snap website. So that's a great introduction for Blue Serif, and I'm sure we'll hear a little bit more about their work later on when we're talking to Matt. For those who are watching this afternoon, if you do have any questions you'd like to ask Matt, if time permits, then there is a Q&A button probably at the bottom of your screen. If you just hit the Q&A button and type in any questions you've got, and if we have time, then obviously I will put them to Matt on your behalf. If you've got any questions about his business or about Blue Serif, then feel free to ask me. And I myself run a business called The Management Mechanic, which specialises in understanding how people work. So I run training courses and consultancy. So this particular field of understanding what makes a business successful is of particular interest to me. So let's introduce you to our guest this afternoon. Matt, are you there?
Yes, Colin, hello.
Hi, Matt, good to see you and very welcome, and thank you for joining us this afternoon. Well, the first thing I noticed, Matt, is that you're obviously in your office. So how long has that been?
Well, literally just today, just mainly actually this afternoon. I've been working from home in the garden office at the end of the garden, but just one, it's nice and cooler and a bit quieter here with no children running around. But also in preparation for us opening up the office so that the staff can come in when the time is right.
Well, I'm interested to hear you mention about the office in your garden. I remember actually hearing that you started your business in the office in your garden, so it's almost like you reverted back to it for the past few weeks, going back to the same offices, the same garden.
Yeah, we've not moved, and that's a blast from the past. It was quite nice to be back in the garden office, although it'd been taken up by a lot of other sort of gym equipment and various other things. There's still enough room in there for the computer and screen. So it was nice to be back, and it's been nice to be working at home. But we've missed the team. But you know, we've made the most of being closer to the family. Yeah,
sure. Yeah, there's certainly some benefits from working from home. So take us back, Matt, to that time in the garden shed. How many years ago was that, and how did it all start? How did Blue Serif come about?
Well, we've been going for about 6 years now, and I've spent a lot of time working for a variety of creative agencies in London, and I worked across the board in advertising and marketing and the digital sector. And the time was right for a number of reasons for me to sort of go and start. And initially, all I wanted to do was just be a sole freelancer, and I'd managed to put some money aside from some sort of freelance work that I was doing previously, and so then I got the garden office built, and it just enabled me to have a better work-life balance. I got to see my girls, so I have twin daughters, and I've been able to see them a lot more, being able to go to school events and various other things. So it was definitely the right move. And I didn't realize actually how kind of quickly the work would start coming in. I'd had a few contacts through other agencies, through other clients, but it soon transpired that actually, you know, there was quite a bit of work out there. And I got to a stage where I was sort of turning work away, and having spent, you know, well over a decade in leading agencies, I was sort of potentially throwing away these good contacts. So I thought, well, this is silly. Let's give it a go. Let's grow the business gradually and slowly and sensibly. And well, you know, we have an office space in central Brentwood and a growing team. So it was definitely the right move.
So tell me, Matt, because I'm really curious to hear about this transformation from, not just for yourself, but generally in business, from being a one-man, as you say, freelancer, to actually taking the plunge and employing people. Did you employ someone on a freelance basis first, or did you actually have someone on PAYE, or how did it all start? Was it someone you knew, or was it a complete stranger that you employed? How did you get from being just yourself?
Well, I had help from a freelancer that we still use at the moment, initially. And then it got to the point where, okay, I need to find someone more permanent, someone who could be more readily available and on hand. We had a young chap that came to work with us for 2 months, but really he wanted to be in London. And I totally understood that. You know, young creatives really want to be in London, where the large creative community is. And what I realized is actually it's going to be quite hard to employ anyone locally that wants to be in, you know, working in Brentwood, because it's not seen traditionally as the creative hub. Things have changed a lot over the last 5 years, which is great. So my first proper employee, I would say, was Michelle, who's actually a mum. She was coming off maternity leave. She wanted to be close to home. She still wanted the agency experience. She wanted to be able to work on a whole plethora of projects and gain more experience, but have that flexibility that if she needed to have a morning off, or leave early, or be able to just sort of drop things to go and, you know, pick a child up from childminder if there was an issue, then we were able to provide that, and we'd be able to sort of tailor, you know, the working hours around that. And that's where we've sort of really got a lot of our staff of being able to have that flexible and adaptive working hours and working relationship with our staff. So, and that's worked out brilliantly.
And what about the name Blue Serif? When did that arrive, and where did that come from?
A lot of people ask me that, funnily enough.
Yeah.
I actually came up with the name, I think it must be about 14 years ago now, because I just thought I'd start a company on the side when I was working for the agencies in London, just to manage a particular freelance project I had on. And freelancing while people are in agencies is a very common practice. But I thought it would actually be a good learning experience. Well, blue is one of my favorite colors. It's also quite close to the top of the alphabet. And serif is actually a French word, but it's part of a font. So you have sans serif and serif, which are elements of a font style. And it's quite unique. And it has led us to other avenues because people misinterpret serif for sheriff, which we have now, which I'll point the right way, our little mascot, the blue sheriff. So it's a bit of fun, but he gets around and he does all kinds of weird and wonderful things. But so we have quite often we're referred to as Blue Sheriff as well. But that's all part of the fun of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I remember hearing about that at the Christmas lunch when you talked about the sheriff. So going back a little bit further, even Matt, I know you studied graphic design. When did you sort of realise that you actually had that was what you wanted to do? That you presume you're quite artistic or quite creative. What was it? Was it when you were at school, or was it when you were even younger? Or?
Yeah, well, I'm actually dyslexic, and exams were always going to be a bit of a test for me. And I worked very hard, but I did okay at GCSEs, but actually my parents had discovered a more vocational course rather than going down the A-level route. And when I went and visited various art colleges and learnt about it, I thought, well, this is brilliant. I don't have to do exams. I just get to do what I want to do and come up with all these ideas. And I thought, well, this is me. This is what I want to do. And so, yeah, I did 2 years an ND, and then went and did two more years as an HND, and was contemplating doing a top up for a degree, but I was given a job fairly quickly after graduating, and industry experience is best than any. So I kind of knew, yeah, from sort of 16 and training for 4 years over it, and really loved all of the aspects of graphic design, and was quite lucky that it was at the turn when the computer generation side of things was really taking hold, and getting involved in digital design and websites when they were right in their infancy was really exciting.
Yeah, that's something I wanted to ask you about, actually, Matt, technology, and how technology has both changed during your career, and also how you've managed to embrace that, and how important it is in your industry. Is it the fact that you can only be successful if you invest lots of money in technology, or?
No, I wouldn't say so. The key is you've obviously got to have a creative element and creative background, and I think learning that has been really key. But the technology makes a massive difference, and keeping up to date with all the latest technology, but also the trends. Whether it's now social media, but also how technology is used in new areas of digital experiences, like augmented reality and virtual reality. All of these are being used from a graphical point of view, and these are ways that a brand, a company are engaging with their customers. So we need to understand these, and we need to see how these can be used to maximize clients' budgets, but also what they're trying to achieve, which is to get their messaging and their products and services out to their target audience, and to create that engagement that gets brand loyalty, but also enhances their business prospects.
So a key area of your work is obviously the creativity, the thinking outside the box, coming up with new ideas. How do you ensure that happens, or how do you ensure that the people that work with you have that creativity, or is it just something which comes naturally to them? Are there various things you do around the office to help people become more creative?
Like coming up with silly ideas of having a blue sheriff, probably. I think one of the things about lockdown that we've missed is that interaction of being able to just sit in a room, sharing ideas, throwing out silly ideas or ones that aren't quite right on brands, and being able to collaborate in that way. And I think the office environment, but also the team have got that creative background, and that's really important. So they've done some form of kind of creative training, and the technology side then gets learned. And technology is always changing, and the tools that we're using, they're always being enhanced and added to. So we have to keep on top with those. But yeah, in terms of one of the key things when we're looking at clients, when we're looking at a new project, is really to understand that client, to understand their business and how they tick, but also how they're perceived from their customers' point of view, but also how their customers perceive them. And by understanding that means we can get better, closer to the brief, but we can also produce more creative ideas. So we can always, quite often we'll come up with an answer to the brief, but we'll always push the clients and just push the boundaries a little bit just to see how those react. And quite often they will come up and come back to us and say, those are fantastic ideas. How do we get this now to be more campaignable. And that's where our experience of the technology and the creativity can say, right, well, we should work in these particular areas and this particular medium to get your messaging out there. And I think there's an element of also the creativity. It will come naturally. It does come naturally, but you just learn with more and more experience. You have more and more knowledge, and the creativity sort of would naturally flow anyway.
And do you find sometimes you get resistance from clients when you have new ideas and you think something will be good for them, but they actually don't think it themselves? And if so, how do you deal with that?
Absolutely. There's you know, a very good analogy of, you know, if you're given, you know, three cars, you quite often your client will say, I'll have the front of this one, the middle of this one, and the back end of that one, and stick them all together, and it can look like a real dog's dinner. But you've got to guide the client. So you've got to understand that they'll know their customer base better than you, and you will have to learn to sometimes say, okay, we're not going to get that far, but let's come back. Let's get a bit of a compromise, and also give them the understanding, give them evidence. You know, why is this going to work? Why should they, you know, go down a particular route rather than something else?
Yeah, I'm thinking actually a couple of weeks ago when Michelle was on here and she was singing the praises of Blue Serif, and one of the things she did mention actually was she felt as though that the people in your team really understood Snap and what they were about and how to and the message that they were trying to get across. So that's coming back to what you were saying earlier about really understanding your client and understanding what they want, what message they want to put across to their clients.
Absolutely. And I think, again, sort of one of the negative sides of lockdown is we've not been able to go and see clients and see them in their environments. Now, luckily, most of our clients that we're working with at the moment are they're all existing clients, but with some of the new clients, we haven't been able to see them face to face. We have been able to gauge a good relationship over Zoom virtually, but you know, there is that element that is missing, that, you know, it'd be nice to see them in their environment and explore, you know, how they tick.
Yeah, so you mentioned a couple of times the differences and the problems that you've experienced during the lockdown. Obviously, it's affected all businesses, and as you mentioned, one of the things that you miss out on is the idea of being able to share ideas and just sort of have a sort of chat around the office about what to do. But I know you told me earlier you've done a little animation or something, haven't you, to show how you've coped through the last 100? Is it 100 days? You said. So would you like to share that with us?
Yeah. Well, I'd love to. It came about as an idea from Nicola in the office, and so she said, well, you know, did you know it's been 100 days since lockdown? It seems a hell of a lot longer, but and she sort of did a bit of research as to kind of what we're all about and what we've been up to. So she has put it out on social media, but for those that haven't seen it, here is a little tinkle. So yeah, a bit of fun, and especially about the number of biscuits that we've consumed.
I did a quick calculation on that, Matt. There's a hell of a lot of biscuits.
Yeah. We did send out to every member of the team like a little sort of biscuit hamper, sort of at the beginning of lockdown. So they were kind of fit. I think that's pretty accurate actually, really? Which is slightly worrying.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the sort of thing, you know, it's coming up with those ideas, all of the team coming up with those ideas and putting something together, and we've put that out there on social media just to give a bit of interesting content out and give a bit of insight as to what's been happening behind the scenes.
Yeah, and I see you've got 7 new clients during those 100 days, so that's quite an achievement, really, isn't it? Because a lot of businesses are struggling just to stand still, let alone get new clients.
Yeah, I think we've been lucky. Quite a few of them have been referrals, but we've had a number that their businesses are either at a stage where they're looking to do a complete new rebrand, You know, they've had a little bit of downtime, and they realised that actually right now is a good time for them to be assessing their brand, their identity, and all of the assets and the collateral are related around that. So that as things, which it's great that things are starting to ease now, but as things come out of the lockdown, people and brands are ready, and they're confident that they've got all the tools and they've got the brand behind them, that they can then go out and start getting new business themselves.
Yes, so that's all sounding very positive. So looking back over the past 6 years or so, Matt, is there anything you would do differently in terms of the way you set up your business or the way you run your business?
I don't think so. I mean, there's probably jobs and designs that we thought that, oh, you know, we didn't quite win the pitch, or but I have to say I'm very, very lucky. Not only I do feel like I've got my cake and I'm eating it. I'm near home. I'm in Brentwood, and I've access to all my friends and my family. But also I've got a wonderful team, and we've built this up, and they've stuck with me for some reason. But they're a great team, and they all work really, really hard, and have all sort of bought into the whole ethos of Blue Serif. So in terms of if I would change anything, I don't think I would. I think I'm pretty lucky, so I'm happy with my lot.
Good, yeah. You've done well. One thing I haven't mentioned so far is also, of course, you did very well in the Brentwood Business Awards, picking up some awards last year, and that will obviously go to show you what a good team you've got working for you. One thing you mentioned earlier on was about when you first started out with business, most people, creative people, want to be in London, and Brentwood wasn't really the place for creativity, but you said that's changing a bit. In what way is that changing, and what's caused that?
Yeah, well, I think there's a number of things have happened. There's the sort of the rebirth of the Brentwood Art Trail, for example. There have been more networking groups and more creatives that are sort of almost coming out of the woodwork. You've got quite a lot of, in Brentwood, quite a lot of freelancers, and also individuals within the different creative sectors that are still working for agencies. But they're seeing that actually there is more of a creative community coming together and available in Brentwood. So it actually becomes more of a viable area. And I think the support of the council, the chamber, and also other networking groups, the business prospects are pretty good for Brentwood, and we're obviously waiting for Crossrail to come in. But I think there's a lot of service sector businesses in and around Brentwood, and I think with businesses seeing that actually Brentwood could be a really great place to start a new business, to have your creative agency and your marketing agency sort of right on your doorstep is priceless. And we've already sort of got some very strong relationships with good, quite large SMEs locally, and they love the fact that they've got an agency that's got all this vast experience and a great team behind them that is on their doorstep to work with them to help evolve their brand and their marketing messages.
Yeah, good. Okay. I did say that if anyone had any questions, I would put them to you if time permitted. And we have got one question here, actually. It says, what's the one technology area you work most in now that you could never have predicted when you started out?
That's a really good question. I like it. I think, well, funnily enough, it's probably something to do with the videos. So that little animation that you've seen there, traditionally I've had a digital background, so I've evolved with that, and I've been able to do a lot of, so we do a lot of web design work, but the video animations and that sort of work is something that I thought at the beginning we would never do. And that's only mainly because one of the girls that we've employed, Gemma, just loves it and has really sort of taken it upon herself to learn more skills on that and be able to sort of just set a hand at sort of doing those animations and coming up with some videography work. So I would say that's probably one area that I didn't think that we would be in, that we're doing more and more, as you can see from the example that we showed you.
Yeah, okay. And that sort of leads me into my probably my final question, one of my final questions, which is about the future, both for Blue Serif, but also for creative design generally. What do you see are the new trends over the horizon, or ways in which business will be different?
Well, in terms of businesses, I mean, there's been a lot of talk about the lockdown, about that balance of working from home, probably less opportunities or less need for people to be permanently in an office environment. I think for us, that has always been there. But I think people are still really tactile and still really like that one-to-one engagement. And I think that's going to continue. Okay, there'll be changes, but it will continue. I think in terms of the industry, as I mentioned earlier, augmented reality and some of these new digital mediums that people can get engaged with and brands can get engaged with is always going to evolve, and evolve really quickly. And actually, it's already pushed that further with COVID and with the lockdown, where people are actually putting their messaging and putting their marketing on more in a digital environment than a offline environment. In terms of Blue Serif, well, I'd be very happy if we carry on as we are. We'd like to expand on the team. We are looking to expand our capability and to be able to offer our clients more of a sort of 360 holistic approach. So not just with the creative and the branding at the heart of it, but to be able to work with our clients earlier in the process, to be doing more strategic work and working with partners to able to facilitate that. So that's something that we are exploring at the moment, and it's quite exciting. And we are actually also looking at doing other work to see how we as a brand, but also as a business can evolve and make sure that we're on top of the latest technologies and we're on top of the latest trends and keep on evolving, because that's the way that we will keep on developing and being able to attract new clients, but also retain our existing clients as well.
Well, that all sounds very exciting, Matt. Great, thanks very much, and I wish you all the best for the future. Save the best question till last. What's your favourite biscuit and why?
I wonder who asked that. My favourite biscuit, well, it has to be a dark chocolate hobnob. It's very dunkable. There's a little bit of chocolate on there, not too much. You can't beat it.
Great. Okay. How many have you had today?
I haven't had any of those today.
We'll go away and treat yourself to one.
We do a subscription called Biscuit Baron, and I haven't actually told the girls, but the latest one's arrived, and it's a whole selection of Polish biscuits. So there's some really interesting ones in there.
I think you'll find a few people wanting to get back into your office as quick as possible then.
Quite possibly.
Great. Okay, well, thanks very much for joining us this afternoon, Matt. It's been really interesting, and I hope.
No, thank you.
I'm sure the viewers have found some fascinating insights into how to run a business, and obviously you've done that thing that we all dream about. You've started up on your own and then expanded and got your own team and got your own office. So congratulations, and wish you all the best for the future. And I hope to see you again in real life very soon. Indeed, thank you. So all that remains for me now is just to tell you, the viewers, about the next webinar, the next Member Spotlight, which is on Thursday, 9th of July, 2 weeks' time. And we've got Ian Brasher from iBray joining us. Ian runs a business consultancy. One of the areas he specialises in is GDPR, which we sort of tended to forget about in the last few months, but it certainly was on very much in everyone's focus a year or so ago, and it's still a very important procedure. And we'll be talking to Ian about his career today and what he's doing with his business consultancy. Same time, 4 p.m. on Thursday, the 9th of July. Details on the Brentwood Chamber of Commerce website. So all that remains for me really is to thank you all very much for joining us this afternoon, and to thank Matt for joining us and for his very interesting insights into his business. And we'd like to see you again in 2 weeks' time. And also, if any of you are interested, we also have a Back in Brentwood business webinar tomorrow morning with Rupert, who will be talking about sales and how to improve your sales process during the COVID-19. So that's tomorrow morning at 9:30. Full details on the website. So I'd like to wish you all enjoy the rest of the day. Hope it's not too hot for you. Get out and enjoy the sunshine, and see you all very soon. Thank you and goodbye.